We spent the day in the northern city of Tel Aviv, right on the border with Turkey. When we arrived, there had been shelling earlier that day. The town was more or less deserted. Shops were shuttered. The streets were empty. As we got closer to the border, we came across a small protest, less than 100 people who were gathering, insisting that they were going to walk right up to that border to show that they would not be cowed by this Turkish military operation. However, Kurdish fighting forces on the ground quickly told those people to dissipate, saying that it was not safe. There was a steady stream of artillery coming in again to various targets around the town. And then we also heard some outgoing rounds with Kurdish fighters firing back at the Turkish military. They were also setting fire to big piles of tires to try to create some kind of a coordinated smokescreen across the town. The people who we saw who were fleeing that town, much like people who we saw yesterday fleeing the town of Ras Al Ain, saying essentially they don't know where they are going. They don't know where is safe anymore in northern Syria. They don't know how big this operation is going to get. Who, if anyone, will do anything to stop Turkey from further expanding, further pushing in? And the real fear is that if this does turn into some kind of a ground incursion, things will only get bloodier, raising the risk of civilian casualties. Already some 60,000 people displaced from their homes, and that number could easily climb to hundreds of thousands in the coming days. Clarissa Ward, CNN, Northern Syria.
As I was looking down here, I was just looking at the latest, the breaking news that we have. The Washington Post is reporting at this hour that at least 4 national security officials raised concerns about the Trump administration's attempts to pressure Ukraine for political purposes. There is a lot of breaking news in this story, and I want to emphasize they're saying these concerns were raised both before the call because of things that Team Trump was doing and immediately after the call with the Ukrainian President Zelensky. A Washington Post reporter Greg Miller broke the story and joins me. So, Greg, I mean, you're saying 4 national security officials raised alarms about what the White House was doing. And they did this before the call because they were already concerned, and after the call?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and this is a conservative estimate at this point. These are 4 officials that we know of that we've been able to identify. There may be more. And yeah, so I think one of the important things in our story is that some of these officials were going to lawyers inside the White House with their concerns even before the call, because of all of the stuff they saw happening. And that would include the removal of a U.S. ambassador with no explanation, the antics of Rudy Giuliani, who's promoting conspiracy theories about Kiev on television and planning trips to Kiev, and other developments that were getting closer and closer to the White House, including a meeting at the White House in early July that really unnerved a number of people in the room.
So you also, and I want to give you, there's a couple of things in here that appear very significant. First of all, when you talk about the transcript of the call itself, right, that there was immediate concern about it. A lot of people on it had very serious concerns. Now, you're reporting that within hours now of that conversation, it got moved. It didn't even take a day. Within hours, they moved it to the code level server.
Yeah, so the way it was described to us was that this was an immediate reaction, that even coming out of the call, there are people who are immediately turning to higher-ranking people in the White House. They're really alarmed about what has happened, and there's kind of almost an atmosphere of a bit of panic. You have senior officials, including the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, at the time, who was not on the call, scrambling to try to get a transcript of the call to figure out what had transpired. And even as he's doing that, other officials are ordering this stuff shoved into a highly classified server to get it out of visibility.
With 2 men involved in his personal attorney Rudy Giuliani's efforts to dig up dirt on Joe Biden now suddenly indicted on campaign finance violations, President Trump sounded off to reporters as he left for a rally in Minneapolis.
I don't know them. I don't know about them. I don't know what they do. But I don't know. Maybe they were clients of Rudy. You'd have to ask Rudy. I just don't know.
The arrests of Giuliani associates Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas as they were allegedly trying to flee the country are only adding to calls from Democrats for the president's outside lawyer to testify in the impeachment inquiry.
Giuliani's been involved up to his neck in this entire mess. He has an obligation to testify under oath so he can be asked questions and so this can come to light.
The president's lead impeachment lawyer, Jay Sekulow, responded in a brief statement, "Read the indictment. Neither the candidate nor the campaign have anything to do with the scheme these guys were involved in." But photos are surfacing of Fruman and Parnas meeting with Mr. Trump and his family. Giuliani was just boasting earlier this week that he wants to tell his story to lawmakers.
I would love to testify and give me a half hour to point out Biden Inc. 4 decades of crime. I'd love to do it.
The president continues to blast the fast-moving impeachment proceedings, tweeting, "The president of the Ukraine just stated again in the strongest of language that President Trump applied no pressure and did absolutely nothing wrong."
They have eviscerated the rules. They don't give us any fair play. It's the most unfair situation people have seen. No lawyers, you can't have lawyers, you can't speak, you can't do anything. You virtually can't do anything.
But past supporters are coming forward to criticize the president's call on the leader of Ukraine to investigate Biden and his family, including Mr. Trump's former national security advisor, H.R. McMaster.
Do you think it is appropriate for the president of the United States to solicit foreign interference in our political process? Thank you.
Of course, no. No, it's absolutely not.
George Conway, husband of White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, has formed a group of conservatives slamming Mr. Trump's actions, saying in a statement, "These acts, based on what have been revealed to date, are a legitimate basis for an expeditious impeachment investigation." Conway told CNN contributor Preet Bharara the White House refusal to cooperate with the impeachment probe doesn't hold up.
The thrust of it is that there are some kind of constitutional obligations that the House has failed to meet that therefore render its impeachment inquiry illegitimate and unconstitutional, which is complete nonsense because all the Constitution says is that the House has the sole power of impeachment.
The president is lashing out at a new Fox News poll, finding 51% want to see Mr. Trump impeached and removed from office, tweeting, "I have never had a good Fox News poll. Whoever their pollster is, they suck." Mr. Trump is also losing some support from Republicans who are outraged over his decision to greenlight Turkey's invasion of Syria, where pro-U.S. Kurdish fighters are being killed.
They didn't help us in the Second World War. They didn't help us with Normandy, as an example.
Some GOP lawmakers are rejecting the president's excuses.
Whether or not they were involved in Normandy, okay, they were involved in fighting ISIS on behalf of the United States of America willingly because we didn't want to put forces on the ground.
Others in the party want off the Trump train now.
I'm heartbroken. In fact, I called my chief of staff in D.C. I said, pull my name off the I support Donald Trump list. I mean, this was just, we have just stabbed our allies in the back.